All right. I want to say warm welcome to this first Mastermind Talk that we are launching today together with Johan Ba, who is our first guest, and I'm really pleased to have you on, Johan. The show is about, being dedicated to greatness. We serve CEOs and entrepreneurs to get the best out of themselves and their business. And my name is Mats Lundberg, and I run masterminds for CEOs where we support each other to get the best out of ourselves and out of our business. So that's the whole concept. We want to serve CEOs and companies to really grow and get the best out of themselves. And Mastermind Talk is about finding good people and great people to share their great stuff. And I think that you, Johan, we met first in 2015, I think it was. And I immediately took a liking in you, and I think we share so much about how we think about companies and how we think about getting the best out of ourselves and human potential movement, which I think we share a lot of. And the program you ran about values-driven organizations just fitted right into my background and my kind of thinking, how I work with companies. So I know you have a long background and an interesting background in getting the best out of people and getting the best out of organizations. So we are really curious, Johan. Please share a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, thanks, Mats. I remember the 2015 when we met, and of course you liked it because it was just in your alley, so I can understand that you liked it. But I think there's also a big value in actually driving this right now. And you asked me why I do this, maybe, and the reason is why I do this is because I want to contribute really to individuals and organizations in this, especially in this time, when it's so, Corona has been, or COVID has just been, and still is, disturbance in the whole planet. On the whole planet, we have catastrophes everywhere in the world. The economy is fluctuating. We have boredom in our world, and it's been for quite a while, but now it's really accelerating. And in these disturbing times and unsure times, we get afraid of what's happening around us. And for me, and my contribution is really to know what's important for you as an individual, and therefore I can more be active in my life than being reactive if I don't know what I like, what I do, and where I'm heading. So this has been very important for me for many years, and I still it's more important now than ever, actually.
All right. So why is this more important right now? What is it right now? I mean, so much has come up to the surface, and I think we are going through changes right now, but I know you have talked about this before and how important it is in this time, what you do. So why is that more important right now?
It is because it's accelerating. Everything is accelerating, and it's visible now, and people are getting affected. The planet are getting affected. Everybody. I mean, we can see right now that due to COVID and other circumstances, all of a sudden we don't get the products that we want, and all prices are going up when it comes to fuel, oil, whatever it might be, and products itself. We're short of resources when it comes to producing more stuff. And then we have logistics. We don't get the products where we want to get them, and that is creating a disturbance in our society. And because our society, we come into this very quickly now, but I think we reached a certain level in our society where we have models, systems that doesn't fit anymore. We have to be more flexible in our thinking and more flexible in how to create solutions than the system we created, what it's applicable for. And we don't know the answers right now, but we need, for me, it's very important when you ask the question, why right now? I think we have a situation where we as human, we need to collaborate much, much more on a higher level in order to create the solutions that is required for going forward, I think.
So I think, I think everybody's curious about your background a little bit. How did you come to work with this and help companies to reach these levels of thinking and changing and developing?
Well, going from the big humanity down to me, simple me.
Yeah.
When you said in the beginning you wanted to talk to persons, experts in the field, I don't feel like an expert. I feel like I'm an ordinary person, but I have a certain experience in this area, and the area is, of course, is personal from the beginning. I was very short. I was raised and programmed up here to become one type of person, and that wasn't me. So I lived this person and the expectations of everybody else growing up in school, university, my first jobs and everything. That at an age of 35, my body said, no, this is not you, Johan.
Right.
So it reacted by being burnt out. Like many other people, I got burnt out. Yeah. What I actually did, I'm a curious person. And so I really got into what is making me a happy person with a well-being. And it ended up, I threw everything in the air and said, what am I going to do? Am I going to be this or this? Or I just wanted to know what is my passion? Who am I? And the answer was really some things I got. I'm not an extrovert person as I thought I was. I'm a more introvert person. That means I need to reflect more and bring things in and integrate it before I come out with an answer. That's one thing. That was easy. When I found that out, I could make a change in my life, and that reduces my stress. And I found a lot of things that reduces my stress because I was starting to live who I am. And for me, the key in this is really becoming a values-driven person, to know who I am and what's important for me in certain stages of life, but also have a clear direction of where I'm heading. And starting to do this, I totally changed. I call myself Johan 2.0 right now.
Okay.
New program, no new iOS in my head. But I had that from early 2000, and totally big difference for me individually. And my experience from that as a person, that made me also take conscious decisions in my career. It took me more conscious decisions of everything that I do instead of reactive decisions. And for me, this is really important, and what I'm actually doing since I changed my path into becoming an organizational consultant. I went to school for 3 years to become an organizational consultant. So really, what my journey is exactly the same that is in a business or organizational journey when it comes to culture and being successful as a company. But there's more individuals there, so it takes longer time, but it's still the same system that works. It's us individuals that create the organization. So therefore, for me, it's you start with the individual.
Exactly. I think that's a really wonderful realization. That companies are made out of people. We start with the people and build the organization, and I think that's a great way to work with it.
Yeah, And I'll also say that I've been starting off a few companies or units within companies where I built these units with very strong cultures through my experience that I had already, and I know it's working, and therefore I'm working as a consultant since 2013, independent consultant, helping and guiding corporate leaders to actually transform their organizations. So for me, the important thing is really create an organization that has the focus on the individual, so the individual can bloom and become who they are. Yeah. And then you will have a great organization. Sounds like a cliche, but it's a true cliche for me.
Yeah. I think there is much, there's a lot of psychology behind this, and the realization of how we actually go about becoming, great as a person, company, to be who we are, to blossom, as we say, and so forth. I think that's, there is a lot of, psychology behind it that, there is a lot of measurements that you are really on about the engagement levels and so forth. Do you want to say something about that?
Engagement. I work myself, and I'm also, that's interesting because I came in contact with a tool that is measuring culture in a company with 3 easy questions. Only take 15 minutes. It's not a long one. Usually with engagement surveys, it's 120 questions or whatever, and you get tired in the end, and you don't know really what you're answering because you're so tired. This is only 3 questions, but it's so geniusly constructed that the important part with the assessment that we do is really the dialogue in the company afterwards, because then you create a common language for everybody. You know what it means when we say certain things, and you also have, with these questions, you also have a forward looking. It's purely a coaching tool for an organization or a group. You can say what kind of culture we have today, yes, and that might be a toxic one, but we also have the question, what do you want to have as a culture? And that is a coaching question saying, okay, if we want to, because we do everything, we want to do good, all of us. We don't want to be evil persons or anything, but evil, I would say evil, but counterproductive behaviors then.
Yeah.
I would say it is happening due to the fact that we are measured. We have a lot of KPIs within our organizations, and the KPIs, as we know, is so many, and they don't correlate or align with each other. Even though they contradict each other, even. So it's difficult for us humans in an organization with all the KPIs to do the right thing. And all of a sudden we get the blame game of people, or they are doing the wrong thing. No, you're doing the wrong thing. And we create this silo mentality and confusion in the organization. So with this, when we measure, we want to do good. And we say, okay, if we want this in our culture, how do we go about to do it? So we have a forward-looking, energy-driven change management, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that is really the key when I measure, is to don't dig in on what's wrong, find the solution where you want to go instead.
Yeah.
So this is really it's Barrett Value Center that has this commercial tool that you choose, and you also take in your personal values in this. What's the motivation factors from me as a person, me as a coworker? What is driving me? So we also know what the employees that we have, what is the driving factor for them on different levels.
And it's all centered around values.
It's all centered, because we talk about values always, don't we? It's always, you need to respect my values, or this is not my values, and this is our core values. Especially in the recruitment process, we talk about our values and our vision to the people we want to employ. And the values, we talk about values, but it's very seldom we actually talk about what does the values mean for us. So that's a common denominator for everybody when we talk about it. And that's the key, that we have a common language, which will reduce reduces conflict. We understand each other better. We have a common language for it. And when we have a conflict, it won't go as deep as it usually does.
What I really appreciate with this model of thinking is that I think we are done a transition within the business world when we think about values, because the way we thought about values before, and still today in many ways, is that we find our 3 core values, and those are the ones we plaster on the walls, and you know, this is the one we like have to center around. But of course, there is a lot of values that is really important in having a great organization. There is this, I call it the tree of values. I mean, there's a tree of values on many levels that we need to have in place. And it's just the question of how much they are in place, and if there is some that is counterproductive, if we are not agreeing on what the values means and so forth. And we can divide those values levels up in different levels, but I know you work with 7 levels.
7 levels, The Barrett model, which I work with, Barrett Value Center, it's a model which is 7 levels of consciousness. It's called. It's really most people knows about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, that triangle. But that triangle ends up in a little triangle at the top, and so you have 3 or 4 ones, as Maslow has it, and then nothing else when you go the growth needs that you have as a human being. This model is built upon that, where you have the mental and the spiritual needs as well, and it's really aligned with the I don't know what it's called in English, but it's the Indian Ayurvedic, or what is it called in English? I don't know.
Yeah, it's the chakra system.
Chakra system, the 7 levels there. So it's really applicable to that, and other kind of researches as well. And the most important thing, the interesting thing is where you have your focus. It's not the values itself. Because the levels is more important. If you have, let me give you an example. If you have, in an organization, most organizations today, where do they have the focus, Mats, according to you?
Well, according to me, it's results.
Results? What kind of results?
It's the bottom line.
Bottom line, exactly.
Bottom line. It's money
financial, that's the profit.
Results. It's that's, and it's easy to defend. I mean, we don't have a business if we don't have profit, and we need the financial aspects and have high focus on that and manage that.
Exactly.
So it's of course.
Yeah, so that's where we have the focus, and we also have the focus when you say results. We also have focus on productivity, efficiency, quality. So we have those very much KPIs on financial and how we perform, right? But if we look at what is driving us human beings, the human beings is driven by development, to having good relations, to belong to a group, belonging, but we also have meaningfulness. And that's on different levels than we actually have the focus in our organizations. And therefore, the organizations doesn't meet the needs of the human beings. And therefore, we will have what we call in our language, a cultural entropy. It's a gap between what we want and what we have. And this is costing us loads of money every year that we are, we're willing to pay that, what I call entropy tax.
Exactly. I think of entropy as resistance in a system. So if we think of an organization as we want to create as much flow as possible, we want it to be flow through the whole organization, creates the results we want. Everybody's on board. There is it's easy. You can find the ways easy. You can serve the clients. We have tools. We have structures. We have, everything is aligned. we have low entropy.
Yes.
But if we have so then we start having the resistance. It's systems are not really fits how we work. There's a lot of things we need to do in the systems. There is other leadership perhaps isn't meeting the needs of the people. There is fragmentations and so forth, and the entropy grows.
Yeah.
So I think I think it's brilliant to measure the level of entropy in a system, in a company, because we don't think about that in those terms many times. We don't think about.
We don't want to think about that.
Of course, that there is actually can measure how much resistance there is in the company from start to finish, and I think that's brilliant.
So usually, what we say when we measure like this is what we bring the intangible to become tangible.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we can touch it and we can see it and we can do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's really when I talk about, we always need to make things conscious about it. That's why it's called the 7 levels of consciousness model, to bring things up to surface that we can do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because and you start having a dialogue. When you have that in a measurement or an assessment and you look at the result, you will see the misalignment which you're talking about. You call it the resistance. I call it the stress in the system.
Yeah,
it's stressed out, and it's when you have a rubber band, you stress it out, and all of a sudden it goes off.
Yeah.
And that's when it's not functioning anymore. It's too much of that entropy that we're talking about, too much stress in the system. And unfortunately, we have a very high entropy or this stress in the system now when we have many management teams that want to start control in this environment, this disturbing environment that we have. They're starting to control what they can control, and people feel controlled, right? And that is prohibiting in actually releasing what we can. I mean, we have so much knowledge in our companies, and instead we're starting to put frames around people that they can't perform anymore. So when it comes to COVID, and people are all now realizing, wow, nobody's controlling me because I'm working from home. Everybody's excited, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are. I think I read about the statistics of that. I think 67% of the Swedish population was very happy with the situation.
Exactly, because all of a sudden we know what to do, and we can decide when we want to do it and how we're going to do it ourselves. Autonomy. That is a key, and the autonomy, when you go back to work, all of a sudden you have a manager or other people that is starting to control, look over your shoulder and see, this is not good enough, you should do like this, and pinpoint how you should do things. And all of a sudden you feel like a trap again. So I think that it's been good with COVID in that case. I wouldn't say that COVID is good in any ways, but when it comes to actually the autonomy, that is good. And also some organizations that we're becoming more efficient. But recent studies has also shown that when we work from home and we don't see each other that much, that is now prohibiting the long-term innovation for companies. And that is a key aspect of actually a hybrid is an excellent, if you can actively decide how you're going to work in your organization, you need to take care of the autonomy. Yes, do it how you want to do it, but also how are we going to work to create new products, new services, or whatever. And then we need to meet. That's the most efficient way to actually meet each other, to feel each other and discuss it in a room or whatever.
Yeah, perhaps that's one of the reasons also that is so important this time to be really innovative, to find new ways quickly, to have that agile, thinking and being, I mean, it's the one survival skills that have taken us this far in our evolution. We have been really resourceful in finding new ways to do things, and I'm really impressed how we managed to take care of business in in a lot of ways when we had this closed down and so forth. So technology and so forth helped a lot. But I also seen, businesses change their approach to find new clients and so forth. And correct me if I'm wrong, according to your expertise, but engagement level, the engagement level and how much you have people on board connected to innovation.
Yeah.
To connected to find new ways to access your best thinking.
Yeah.
And how much you are fully on board in the company and the connection there. What do you say about
that's another aspect which is very important. What you pinpoint there is really, if you need to be innovative, you first of all everybody needs to know where we're heading. That's usually what we say, our vision, but our vision is usually only a statement. It doesn't contain any emotional value in it. We're going to be number one in the world in 2030 or whatever it might be. That's not accelerating enough for people. And usually the vision statement is brought forward from the management team has created it with the reference team or whatever. So it's the co-creation here is very important aspect, involvement of all employees. So everybody gets their saying in it, because now we come to a very important aspect, and that's if you being listened to, listen to your perspective, your point of view, whatever, and you actually listen to people and bring that in and create something together, then you will create the engagement and you are willing to do the extra step in order to create some more innovation or continuous improvement or whatever it might be. So to listen to your employee is so important. And I feel that we have actually we should have anyways gone in a leadership and an organizational context where from control to actually listen and involve our coworkers much more to get that, to become creative and find the solutions in the environment we're living in right now. Remember when COVID started, what happened is really, it was new to everybody. It was we didn't know what to do, how long it was going to be or whatever. What was focus for the companies? The focus was continuous communication, open communication to all employees, virtual or in a room in the beginning where they sat down and had weekly information. This is what's happening. This is how we're thinking, etc. And this is something that everybody, all employees said, wow, this at last we have open communication, what's really happening, and we know what the management are thinking and doing. So we want to continue that. We didn't have that before. It was you get the information when we're finished with our thinking. But we need, especially when we're working from home, we need that kind of open communication. But that's also important. What's the next step? Where we're heading? The vision, again. It doesn't have to be a vision. It could be an ambition. Where we're heading. So we know if I want to do something by myself, I know it's in the right direction. So we swim in the same direction, everybody of us. And then we can be a larger entity, i.e. the organization.
That's great.
And also, when we do this, to listen in, that's also what happened in the beginning of COVID. You were listening in individually. How are you doing? What kind of problems do you have? What do you need to feel well? That is also required onwards. And that is requiring a totally different leadership now.
That's interesting. Actually. That's interesting to be aware that it takes, perhaps the old ways doesn't work anymore. We need to improve, we need to develop and so forth, and to be aligned with that and be ready for that development.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm curious in your expertise. Now, you've been in this for many years. You have dived deep into organizational issues, potentials, and so forth. What is some of the keys that you would say? You have given several here, but if you would like boil it down and just deliver on a plate to an organization and say, if you're gonna if you're gonna bring the best out of your organization, this is my tips.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would really say to listen in is one aspect on a daily basis, to listen in. Yeah. There's no more expert management that I know the best. I can pinpoint the direction. It's we need to solve this together and move the whole group or unit or whatever. Yeah. But I really would say that what I can feel right now, I've been out right now in companies where they need to take a clear direction and put it down to, okay, what do we want to become? What kind of company do we want to be in 3 years? That's usually the question I receive. And from that, we can create, what kind of company, how does it look when we are there, i.e. the culture. But then we need to bring it on. What kind of culture what kind of company are you when it comes to goals? What's the volumes in sales? What kind of products do you have? What kind of customers do you have? And put down the strategies from 3 years and put it down to, okay, what do we need to do now, right now? And when you ask me that question, Mats, to answer the question, it is really, in order to do that, you need, in the English term, we have a leadership team, but it's in Swedish we have another word, but we have the word team, but it's usually individuals sitting in a group. It's not a management team usually. So we need to create or develop a team with a same goal, because we have the 3-year strategy and we need all put together our efforts, like in a soccer team or whatever. I'm sailing, so in a boat, we need all to do our expert things in order to go where we want to go. Yeah. And that is a team for me. And that is what we're lacking today, unfortunately. So for me, focus is the team, to develop a team for the management team, and then what kind of leadership is required in 3 years' time, and starting to build now.
That's great.
But it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah. That's great.
And one aspect more, Mats.
Sure.
It's really the relationship between the CEO and the board also, who's actually steering the management team. Yeah. They need to be aligned that culture is one vital aspect or enabler for the strategy. If they don't think like that, and they only put pressure on economical or monetary means like profit, shareholder value, whatever, then the management team will go that direction. Yeah. So you need the collaboration between those two entities as well.
Yeah, that's really important. I think that's so many times overlooked.
Yes.
Organization to don't bring in the board, and that's really important.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Johan.
I hope I answered your questions there.
Absolutely. I think the CEOs listening to this will find what they, to get what they want from it. But I'm certainly on board on that. So a last question: if you would get the mic from the world's business community is fully listening to you now, Johan.
All right.
And you can bring your message, your one core message to the business community. What would that be?
Get your shit together. Sorry for saying that, but no. But it's really the important thing for being a sustainable, long-term sustainable organization. You need to take care of your employees by listening and involving them, and in order to start the creative side and the innovative side for new solutions.
That's great.
I really would like to address that aspect of it.
So the culture, you know, I think we get the message that it's through the culture that it's all happening according to your expertise.
Yeah, and for me, I'm working with it, so no worries that I think about that. But you need the culture. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of strategy you have or plans or whatever. If you don't have the people with you, and if you have that stress in your system, the entropy, it doesn't matter what fancy strategies you have. But the culture, how we do things, need a strategy to know where it's heading.
Yeah.
So we need both of it, and you can't exclude anything. But I think the lack of consciousness about the culture and actually how we do it's not that difficult, but it maybe takes a little bit longer time than we hope for. The one problem that I usually receive is we have this budget. Okay, but how can you set a budget when you don't know what activities you're going to do and for how long? Yes, but we have this budget. So already there, you need to say, this will be an integrated part of your daily life.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't put a budget on it, because it will be, right now, maybe you need more energy and attention to it and put a little bit more money in it, but that will be integrated part of your daily operations in a short while. Actually, it takes, if you do it properly, it takes it goes quicker than you think.
Exactly. Then it's the daily thing.
Yeah.
You know, culture is always going on.
Culture, I saw some statement, it's not mine, but I saw culture is like water. You swim in it, the fish live in it, and all of a sudden they don't realize it, but all of a sudden they're dead. When it's too contaminated, when you have a bad culture, all of a sudden you don't have the engagement. But until this, you don't notice it. You just adapt in the environment, and you maybe get more and more colds, or you're feeling ill, but you say, hey, that's a flu right now, and you continue. And all of a sudden you turn upside down, and like a fish, you're dead. You're not that as an individual, but
I just want to address that here in the end,
yes,
because I think, you know, for me, correct me if your thoughts, but I think that if you go that far, the problem becomes obvious. So now, now the problem becomes obvious, you want to fix this, now you seek for help and so forth. I think the most dangerous thing in our cultures today is that is okay. You know,
and that's why I'm saying
it sort of works.
Yeah, and that's why we say, I don't understand how CEOs can be okay to pay that entropy tax. That's the polluted water they're paying for. Not the clear water that they want. So yes.
So I think also, you know, from my perspective, working with self-actualizing psychology, and you know, I'm all about actualizing the best and brightest and so forth. I think we are a little bit lost since we don't know what our full potential is. If we don't know, we have no idea of the company's potential, and of course we can't. We can only see so far. We don't know where we are in 20 years. But you know, the idea of having a greater understanding of what we can become makes the difference between where we are and where we can be more clear. Yes. So then okay is not okay. I mean, good isn't great.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, that it changes the mindset when we really understand what we can become. And I think that, you know, that's a little bit of my mission, I think, to help realize and help people understand what they can become and what as we as a company and leaders and so forth can become in a natural way. It's a natural way forward. Yeah. But you are
voluntarily.
Exactly, you know, wanting this.
Yeah, because I didn't want to change myself before I got burnt out, but then I got burnt out. I was actually the dead fish, more or less.
Yeah.
And then Johan 2.0, when I look back and I say, how could I live this kind of life?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. But at the time, that was the perfect life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's realization. So, that's great.
Yeah.
It's all about realization.
It is.
Want to grow. Yeah. Great, Johan. I am honored to have you on as the first guest here on Mastermind Talk. There will be many more. And I think we had a good start here, a great start with you and your realizations, and I'm really grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Mats, and I'm really looking forward to listen to the other ones as well, because I'm going to learn so much.
Great, thank you. Looking forward to it. So thank you for this time. See you again, everybody, soon, and thanks again, Johan.
Thank you very much. Take care.
You too.